All right, hello everyone. Welcome to my third lecture video. Anytime during this video, if you missed something, you're confused, make sure you pause it or, click rewind so you can get the correct notes. Now, what you should have already done is written down today's daily target quiz, daily target, which is why is Abu Bakr important? Some guy you've never even heard about. Why is he historically important? What is his historical relevance? So make sure you get that down. If you can't find that, it should be in our modules on Canvas. Once you get that taken care of, I need you to take out page 8A. You know what? This is going to be page 9A. Sorry, I wrote the wrong letter. 9A. So take out page 9A. It'll say comparing empires, Byzantine versus Islamic. We already last class put this table on here. So if you didn't get this table, you need to go back to last class and figure that out. Leave yourself, you know what, if you weren't here last class, just leave yourself like 7 or 8 spaces up here at the top and you'll have to get that later. So we're going to start these notes right here. So right underneath that table from our last notes. So let's get started. I will give you the subtitle that you're going to put on there. I'm going to share with you my screen. All right, so right underneath that table, I want you to put Abu Bakr. Why is he important? And like I said, it's going to be 9A continued. You don't have to write the red. So Abu Bakr, why, oh why is he important? Why are we learning about him? So let's go on. So last class we talked about the 5 ways Islam spread. And again, we're not here to learn about the specific laws of Islam. We're just looking at how historically this religion spread very quickly and how it became a rival with its once, friendly religion, Christianity. So let's put number 1, Islam spreads. You're just going to put this right underneath the subtitle. And again, if you have a highlighter, there'll be some words that I need you to highlight. If not, just put a box around it. Now, after the death of the founder of Islam, Muhammad, please highlight that. The Islamic community, they weren't sure who was going to take over. He really, this was a very male-based society, paternal society, and Muhammad didn't have any sons. Now, Muhammad is a religious leader who founded Islam. He's a little different than the founder of Christianity, Jesus, or the founder of Buddhism, Siddhartha Gautama, because Jesus and the Buddha were just religious leaders. That's all they were. They weren't in a position of real power. However, Muhammad was. But again, this is a male-based society. He didn't have any sons. He had a whole bunch of daughters, and they weren't sure who was going to take over. So his closest friend, Abu Bakr, the guy we're talking about, he became the leader. He was also related to him through marriage as well. Now, Abu Bakr is going to become what's called a caliph, which means religious or political leader. Now, I want you to think about this for a second. What is a caliph's kingdom called? So get A, B, and C down. I want you to think about what is a caliph's kingdom called? Now, I gave you some time to think about it, and just to give you more hint, let's say a king rules over a kingdom, or an emperor rules over an empire. What is a caliph's kingdom called? If you think you know, send me the message on Remind. Hopefully you've signed up for that, and I will give you a bonus point on our next test. Now, speaking of that, this is the Arab Empire at its greatest extent. It's the green right here. This pink, that's the Byzantine Empire. So it got really big. This is as largest around in between AD or Common Era CE 700 to 850. They took this is Saudi Arabia right here. This is mainly the Middle East. It goes into Russia, Northern Africa. Even they control a big chunk of Spain and Italy for some time. Now, like I said, they used to get along with Christians, and we're going to talk more about that later in this lecture. But as you can see here, they're like right against each other, and they start to feel this rivalry. They want each other's land. So a lot of the issues between Christians and Muslims didn't start because of religion. It started because they wanted each other's land. Now I'd like you to highlight this because this is the answer to today's daily target. So it should say Abu Bakr. Yeah, like Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr spread Islam mainly through conquest. This, again, is the answer to our daily target. Why is Abu Bakr important? So he's going to take all this land physically. Now, what's going to happen, and this is a controversial topic, given today's political climate and what's going on in the world, especially over in the Middle East. Now, there's this thing, it's called jihad, and what jihad is it's Muslims must work to promote Islam by avoiding sin and acting righteously. That is what it says in their holy book, the Quran. So I'd like you to get that down. And again, I want, let's just, kind of put aside what we've heard and just write this down. We'll talk about the controversy in a minute. And like I said, this is controversial. There's this terrorist organization, and they're called ISIS. And groups like that and Al-Qaeda, whom we, talked about a little bit when we did our September 11th lesson, they have twisted the meaning of this word for their own personal gain or to justify their actions. So again, we have to be very careful when we're hearing terms like this. But this is how Abu Bakr is going to spread Islam, because they had to act righteously and, in their minds, spread the religion. Right, again, if I'm going too fast, make sure you pause the video. Now, what they're going to do is they're going to take land from the Byzantines and all of the Persian Empire by 650, like in that map I showed you. This picture, this is actually these people in this boat shooting. This is a Greek fire. Those are the Byzantines, and they had figured out how to use this almost like a ancient flamethrower. And this is just a recount of that during their war with these Islamic empires. But they're going to take a ton of land, mainly through conquest. There were other reasons, like we saw in our last lesson, but a big one was conquest. Now, this is going to be known as the golden era for Islam, where they're going to have a lot of advancements in technology and mathematics and learning, and they're going to have some of the most beautiful cities in the world. But the thing I want to talk about is they also had a lot of religious harmony in the beginning. And that's why I put that picture in the background. They come in from a world where everyone was polytheistic. That means you believe in a lot of gods, like the Greeks had, Zeus and Athena and all of them. Hera, Ares, god of war, things like that. And, Thor and Odin in Northern mythology and, the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's polytheism. But Islam, as well as their two fellow religions, Christianity and Judaism, they're monotheistic, meaning they only believe in one God. And for a long time, they got along pretty well. So in these Islamic empires, when they conquered land, they would allow Christians and Jews to live what they want. They could practice their religion, and they could live any way they wanted to live. They called themselves people of the book because they all believed there was this founder named Abraham and they follow similar texts. The Old Testament, the Torah of the Jews, and the beginning of the Quran are all very similar. There's some differences, of course, but they all have similar stories. So they were all getting along really well, and they were like, you know what? You guys, you follow a similar book than we do. You live your life the way you want to live it. But there was one thing. Oh, yeah. They didn't have to convert. They were like, you don't have to convert to our religion. We're not going to force you to do it. But there's a big, a big stipulation in there. And that is they'd have to pay a special tax. So they could still be Christians, they could still be Jews, but they had to pay a special tax. And, truth be told, a lot of Jews and Christians became very wealthy in these religions, but they would have to pay more. So if you were selling, I don't know, fish, and you were you were a Jewish fish seller, you would have to charge more because you had to pay these special taxes. Let's say your business rival, who is a Muslim, doesn't have to charge as much because he doesn't have to pay that special tax. So that was, that's kind of where they got them. They were like, you can do what you want, but you're going to have to pay this tax. And so sometimes people would convert to Islam just because it was, cheaper. So again, make sure you pause this if I'm going too fast. So there's that. Now, like all things, they had issues, and in our last unit on the Byzantines, we talked about how Christianity grew so large that it split over an argument over icons, those statues and paintings of Jesus and Mary, and should they be worshipped. And something similar is going to happen in Islam as well. So after Abu Bakr died, they started to fight over who would be the ruler again. He didn't say, hey, this person's taken over after me, which is always foolish. If you ever become a ruler, and you never know, things are crazy right now, you have to make sure that you name someone your successor, someone who will take over after you, or else, everyone's going to start fighting, which is what happened here. Now, the three caliphs after him were all assassinated, so it was kind of a tough job to have. Again, assassinate means, a political person who was murdered. Now, this is where we get to Islam's split, and it's very simple. They split over who should be the ruler of Islam. I know that seems a little petty, but, that's usually how these things happen. Everything we're going to learn about is about money and power. Keep that in mind. Now, they had two splits, or they had two, ways of thinking. Now, there were Shia, sometimes they call them Shiite, and they believed that only the descendants of Muhammad's son-in-law, Ali, this guy named Ali, who married one of Muhammad's daughters, should be the leader. But here's the problem with that. After centuries, who is that person? They intermarry. I mean, Queen Elizabeth of England, the current Queen of England, you can trace her back to Muhammad. It's crazy. So that's why this one's, there are less Shia or Shiite Muslims in the world. The majority become Sunni, and they just felt, it's a person who should be most knowledgeable in their religion. So just like we're going to talk about in Christianity, this split, while it's over a disagreement, it's going to eventually turn bloody. And this is something we're going to talk about at the end of the year, too, when we get to issues in the Middle East. The Sunni and Shia split. I have this chart up here, and there are most countries have a large majority of Sunni Muslims. It just makes more sense. I mean, if you look at Iran, they're mostly Shia, as well as Bahrain, but Bahrain is a small country. But the majority of these Middle Eastern countries, most people are Sunni Muslims, if you're right here. But I want you to just keep this in mind, because when we get to issues in the Middle East at the end of the year, this is something that we're going to look at, and some issues that the United States is going to have to deal with when we get to the 80s and 90s, and even earlier than that. All right. Back to me. So let me get you out of this. All right, so by now you should have your notes. Put this somewhere safe. And make sure you read the next bit of our lesson. Again, make sure you're checking those modules. If you haven't written down the answer to today's daily target, our daily target is, why is Abu Bakr important? He's one of the people that helped to spread Islam.